Thanks for staying with us on this segment. We will be discussing the unending power grid collapse. Joining us on the show to discuss is the power sector analyst and CEO of Sage Consulting and Communications, who is a legal practitioner and communications specialist with focus on power sector. Mr. Bode Fadipe, welcome to the show, sir. Hello, sir. Are you there? Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm told that we've had, many of us have experienced quite a bit of power outage in our houses as a result of the continuous grid collapse we've experienced. And we thought that by now the issue of grid collapse would have been a thing of the past. But many have actually complained because the issue of TCN transmission from the generating company first to transmission and then to the discos, there's always an issue where when the grid collapses, there's actually no power at all. And people are having issues even getting follow-up from governments on how long it's going to take. Many have even suggested privatizing the TCN specifically. Others are saying government should retain a hold on the various parts of this power sector value chain. But what are your own thoughts on it? You can call us on the numbers on your screen: 081 7641 679 090 241 You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag YourViewTVC so we can read it too. So I'd like to hear your own experiences. What neighborhoods you live in? How has power been for you? What are the issues you've experienced so far in the past weeks concerning engaging your discos and others? Just let us know your own views while we're getting our guest to share his own thoughts on what can be done for the power sector to have some kind of a revival. Let me come to you, Nima. Let me start with you on this matter. Sure.
So we had...
1 second, I'm told our guest is available. Good morning, sir. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Good morning to everyone.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us. So we talked earlier about the power collapse, the grid collapse, and Nigerians have been quite worried about this incessant collapse we've been experiencing. What do you think is the cause, and how do we move away from this?
Thank you so much for having me this morning. The power sector, maybe we should lay the foundation. The power sector runs on a tripod. There is a generation, there is a transmission, and there is a distribution aspect of it. And a grid collapse, or what is commonly referred to as system collapse, can occur from any of these three legs. In terms of the collapse that we had recently, which is quite strange, and what makes it strange is the fact that for over 400 days, Transmission Company of Nigeria was able to keep the grid from collapsing. To now have a collapse, I think 15th or 14th of September or thereabout, and then another one occurring as a result of fire outbreak on the Kainji Jeba 330 kV line, and then the transmission station in Birnin Kebbi, raised a lot of concern, and that speaks to the question of what can we do. There is a strong feeling out there that this could be as a result of some compromise of security, because I'm saying the security of the power infrastructure, because again, the two areas that are affected are areas that service an external part of the country. In other words, one or two neighboring countries, precisely Niger Republic. And for us to now have that fire outbreak, it raised a lot of questions, and it calls for concern in terms of the fact that we need to keep greater eyes on our power infrastructure in this country. Otherwise, I think very strongly that transmission has been able to do so much to keep the grid from the incessant collapse that we experienced in the earlier days of the privatization. I mean, there were days we had up to 7 collapses in the grid, even much more than that, but for over 421 days, like I said, that collapse was averted until we had those 2 fire incidences on the Kainji Jeba line and then the Birnin Kebbi transmission station.
Okay, great, Mary.
Okay, I think for me it's we understand that accidents happen, incidences happen. Could you maybe help us also, like the state of our infrastructure do you think, is it modern? Is it well protected? Is there a way to also know ahead of time if there's some incidences like the fire outbreak that you mentioned before it actually happens and causes a total breakdown? Are there things that we have in place? Is it an infrastructure that we would say we are proud of in 2023?
Now, you see, one thing you can give to the transmission station, and indeed the entire value chain, except that in terms of grade, you can say that from generation to transmission and even to distribution, there is a high consciousness for safety. But taking the transmission station that we are talking, the transmission company that we are talking about, their equipment are very expensive. They cover a wider area of the country. If any part goes off. Now, what I'm trying to say is that, your distribution transformer within your area, maybe a street in Okota, a street in Abuja, a street in Port Harcourt, a street in Sokoto, those ones are less number of people. But if Ikeja, for instance, where you have a major transmission facility, if anything happens to it, it will go beyond Ikeja. It will go beyond Lagos State. It will even go beyond some other, like Ogun State, that is the adjoining state to Lagos. So you see it's covering a wider area. And because of that reason, transmission does its best to make sure that monitoring devices are installed in the network to give it a real-time information, which brings me to the issue of what is called SCADA. Now, the SCADA is a data acquisition equipment. The one that is in operation in transmission currently is not up to the point where it ought to be. But there is a rehabilitation program that is going on currently. As at 25th of August last year, a contract was signed for the expansion and rehabilitation of that network such that it can see everything at the same time and know exactly what is going on. But you see, when a sabotage is about to take place, you are not likely to be able to see that. That's a human effort.
Right.
That's a human intervention. But when it is mechanical or technical, of course, all of those ones are visible to read to the extent of the currency of the equipment.
Yeah. Okay.
So this power outage, that happens from time to time seems like it's a deliberate sabotage. Some persons are deliberately trying not to get us to a point where we have uninterrupted power supply for a very long time as a country. Now, what do you think can be done to understand why these people are doing this, fish them out wherever they are, and, prosecute them so that we see that government is intentionally working towards, ensuring that they meet up their mandate of uninterrupted power supply?
I think what can be done is very clear. The security agencies need to raise their performance level, and I know that at least for the fire incident that happened in Brenin Kebbi and on the Kainji Jeba line, that consciousness is there, and they are part of the investigation team to see exactly what happened. Of course, by the time they are able to see exactly what happened, more security steps will be taken. Otherwise, the other thing that you can do is also to make sure that all the equipment are in such a functional state, especially the ones that are monitoring the network, and they can also be able to give signals on some of these things. Otherwise, I think Nigerians need to be more conscious. Nigerians need to be more... We cannot afford a power sector that is not functional at this time of our life in this nation, particularly with the state of our economy.
Right.
I agree with you, sir. But do you still think it is sabotage, or you think that these equipments are outdated? Because, the power sector...
No, the equipment...
Go on, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, because, these equipments have been installed for generations. For instance, the Kainji Dam is as old as, older than myself. What exactly are we doing to modernize things? There are more modern equipments around the world, but we are still where we are. So what do you think?
will it shock you to know that Kainji has not even been exhausted? Will it shock you? Hydros are known to be able to last for a very long time. What you just need to do is to rehabilitate, remove the faulty parts, bring in a new one. That's one thing with hydro. They have a very long lifespan. Their reliability level is very high. Their efficiency level is also very high. And in terms of maintenance, is the cheapest to maintain. Wow. So for Kainji, which you say is older than you, I think we should even give Kainji kudos for still being there. We should give our engineers kudos as well. But that is not to say that some equipment are not due for replacement. They are. I mean, lines, for instance, they cannot last that long, and lines are being rehabilitated. I told some people this morning that transmission has done at least 26 rehabilitation projects between 2020 and 2023. In Lagos, for instance, transmission has about 30 programs or projects that they are executing. In Bauchi region, in Port Harcourt, in Kano, in Abuja. Abuja has about 16 or 15 projects that they are working on. For instance, in Alagmo, that is that is in Lagos with you, in Lekki, that is in Lagos with you, they are putting in 300 MVA transformers, 2x300. So they are replacing the equipment as they become obsolete, as they fail. They replace them so that they can also perform optimally.
Now, let me ask what many Nigerians are asking, especially concerning our ability to generate enough power for our use, or to even have the uninterrupted power supply. There's always been that debate of should we privatize the TCN especially. There's always the conversation that how do we generate more? What? Because they will tell you, oh, we're generating this amount of megawatts, and then transmission carries it, but at the point of distribution, it just can't. They can't absorb all that's been transmitted. So the debates have been going on and on. What exactly is the situation, number one? And secondly, do you think we should start considering privatizing some of these the other arms of this value chain for power sector?
Now, in terms of privatization, you are dragging me to a policy area. But in terms, because that's purely within the framework of government. But I know that the current Power Sector Act has made provision for a part of transmission to be pulled out and registered as a company, as you have the DISCOs and GENCOs. So that one is there. So maybe by the time they pull that one out, whatever is left is owned by government, and that is the ISO, Independent System Operator. As soon as NEC is ready to do that, they will do that when the time comes for it. Now, coming to where is the problem? Now, if you look at the United Nations requirement of 1,000 megawatts per 1 million people, you know that we need up to 200,000 megawatts. Do we have 200,000 megawatts? No. As at yesterday or thereabout, the Executive Secretary of the Association of Power Generating Companies said we have 14,000 installed capacity. Okay. Zungeru having been brought into the system. But if nobody is going to take the power, it's useless running the turbines. If there is no passenger at the park, you cannot be running the engine of your car. It's useless. You'll be consuming fuel. The engines will be wearing away. So they cannot be running turbines when there is no off-taker, which takes me to the second point, which is transmission. What can transmission carry now?
Exactly.
The stress test that was done, or the simulation that was done, shows that transmission can carry 8,500 megawatts. Now, if transmission can do that, what can distribution do? Now, one thing we need to know, let me just make this point very quickly. One point we need to note is DISCOs elect the load they want to take per day. They call it DISCO allocation. They call it DAN, day ahead nomination. Okay. They nominate the amount of load they want to take at any point in time. Okay. And that's a function of so many other factors. They cannot be blamed for it per se, because it's a function of so many factors.
So let me be sure that we're clear. So our GENCOs have 14,000 capacity. TCN can only transmit 8,000 capacity. So from 40 capacity down to 8,000. Now, even the 8,000 that TCN is taking, this codes will now determine through DAN what they can actually absorb. So usually maybe like 4,000, 3,000, depending on their capacity to distribute, right? Just to be sure we're clear.
Yes, just to be very sure that you are clear. Now, let me make it clearer. There must be a balance between what is generated and what is consumed.
Right.
Electricity cannot be stored. So, so if what can be consumed is 10 megawatts, that is what will be generated.
Okay.
If what can be consumed is 100,000 megawatts, that is what, unless the capacity is not there, that is what will be generated. There must be a balance. So when there is an imbalance, there will be problem in the grid. And that's one of the reasons that accounts for a collapse. If it's in excess or if it is too low, there will be a problem. So what is generated at any point in time must be consumed. And that's why the consumer is the one that elects what they can distribute, and that is a function of so many things. Can the consumers take everything, even if the discos want 10,000? Can the consumers take everything at the same time? Are they ready to pay for it? These are factors.
If it's about payments, yes. But if it's about production,
yes, no, it involves payments.
Payment's part of it, because if I collect it as disco, they don't pay for it.
But with prepaid, you don't have that business
now.
So it goes with the meters.
Okay, so I understand this imbalance you say. Are you saying that we have more production than consumption in Nigeria? Also considering that we are also servicing other countries?
If you use that line of thought, we have more production than consumption in Nigeria, it may not come out as clearly as it ought to be. With profound respect to you.
Okay.
Because again, the person that is consuming is the one that is electing. So if you have a shop in Balogun Market, for instance, and your shop can only take 10,000 cartons of malt, but the capacity of the manufacturing company is 100,000, it is only that 10,000 that you keep there. Or even if you have the capacity to take 10,000 cartons of malt, but those who are taking from you cannot take more than 5,000. You are also in business. You won't just stop, because in any case, electricity is not what you can store.
This is an interesting part of the conversation that we really need to. I think we need to bring you back in, because we've run out of time. Because Nigerians really need to understand the issue here. You know, we just say there's no light in Nigeria, there's no light, there's no power, but there are reasons why there's no power. Some will argue that the manufacturing companies are actually ones zapping up all the power. Some will say they're not taking it up because they're using diesel. There are different arguments. We need to bring you back again to give us more clarity so that Nigerians are understanding exactly what the issue is. But thank you so much, sir. We have to wrap up at this point.
Thank you very much
Pleasure
for
having
me.
you on the show.
Thank you.
That is all we can take on today's show. Please don't forget, if your manhood has been lost, send us a message. We'd really like to interview you. Share your own real experience so that Nigerians can have a proper understanding of what this issue is about manhood being lost. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.